Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. Same faces, new name, all new look, same game. Jason Main joining me tonight. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm back.
All right, folks, this is our inaugural broadcast as Watchbox Studios. I'm going to talk a little bit more as we get through the broadcast about what that means. But the first thing I can say is that we have all new watches on our wrist tonight. Before we jump into wrist shots, though, let me remind you, it's not just a name. It's also a place to hang out, buy, sell, and trade. There is a new website. Our new website, long awaited. You've told me the old one was slow. The new one is fast. You told me that the old one was dated. The new one is state of the art. You've got to see thewatchbox.com. Open it in a second window. You can parallel with our broadcast. You're going to like it, guys. This is the one you've been waiting for. Also, Jason, you also buy watches, right?
All the time.
So if you want to sell your watch, there is no better place to go than thewatchbox.com. Of course, 24 hours a day, you'll get Jason or his machine. That's enough about that. Let's get into watches. Jason, long awaited, finally on your wrist.
Show me this. I am very happy to announce the newest acquisition to my collection, which I've been calling for a while. It's going to be the 114060. Wanted one of these bad boys for a while. You know, just hunting, finding the right piece, the right deal, as always, and the hunt is half the fun. So ceramic non-date.
Long awaited. And let me ask you a question. But how big is your wrist, just for reference, for the folks who are watching?
7 3/4.
Okay, so imperial units, so 19th century style. My wrist, as you guys know, is 16 centimeters in circumference, and we've got my little Jlc E877 Snowdrop from the 1970s. A fun little watch. Technically it's a 43, but with no lugs, it wears downright dainty. One of these days I'm probably going to have to do a sound off so you can hear the watch as well as see it. This is also a prize that I've searched for forever. I think I've probably been waiting for this one as long as Jason's been waiting for the no-date sub. So all sorts of dreams are coming through in the Watchbox era. All right, Eddie Landsberg back in our live chat first as ever. Eddie, we missed you on Friday. What was up? We also see Edward Layden, Scott Hockenberry, Andrew, Watch Yoda, Michael Godat, Thumper JDM, Bishop, Noah, A. Wilson. Welcome, guys, and thanks for logging on. The important things never change. All right, so let me first go over a couple things that have changed with Watchbox. We now integrate our industry-leading video, which is me and Jason, those guys behind the cameras you can't see, the new graphics, the studio. It's a way to interact with the watch community that's completely, in our opinion, revolutionary because it's interactive, it's fun, it's approachable, and it's always going to be authentic. And that's kind of where we're coming from. We're never going to be the cool kids. You're never going to see me drinking wine with black-rimmed glasses here. We're keeping it real. Also, the Watchbox app, which you really have to consider because this is how I shop for watches. You can put your whole collection in there. You can track the value of one watch or several, even your whole collection. Track the value of watches you don't yet own with the Watchbox app, and then watch my videos. Watch your favorite online media, magazine sites, blogs. Every source of news that you like that's already on the net is on our app. We've put it in one place for you so you can tailor your stream to get the news you can use and nothing else. And then finally, I have to remind you again, this new website is awesome. I spent a ton of time writing copy for this, guys, so do me a solid and check it out. All right, so every resource from entertainment to research to education to engagement in pre-owned watches, that's Watchbox. So that said, let's play this or that. All right, Jason. We're going with some outsiders from beyond the walls of Switzerland. Grand Seiko SBGA 211 Snowflake or NOMOS Ahoy Datum Atlantic Blau. Now let's start with the Grand Seiko. Guys, this is the background on the Grand Seiko SBGA 211 Snowflake. Not Snowdrop, that's what I'm wearing, the Snowflake. The Shiojiri studio in Nagano Prefecture lends its name and its imagery to the dial of this one, which has almost a rippling snowdrift effect upon it. It takes 9 distinct layers to create this dial. It starts with embossing a pattern on the dial, and it includes varnish, it includes texturing, it includes distressing, and the effect is spectacular. Very subtle. This is a dial as worthy of a loop as any Geneva seal movement, and an absolute masterpiece. 41 millimeters in titanium, alternately satin and polished, full bracelet, full clasp, 100 meters water resistant. You've got that exceptional dial. You've got a spring drive, caliber 9R65 with a 3-day power reserve scale, and the remarkable thing about spring drive, it's a watchmaker-built, hand-built movement that is nevertheless accurate to within plus or minus 15 seconds a month. Okay, Jason, $5,800. Here's the contender. NOMOS Ahoy Datum Atlantic Blau. This one's just over 40 millimeters, but it's 2 millimeters thinner than the Seiko at 10.6. It's also 200 meters water resistant, so you've got a little bit more of a margin for error and safety there. Caliber DUW 5101 in-house automatic, not a spring drive, old school Swiss lever escapement, but the NOMOS swing system, their own in-house lever escapement system. This one offers many dial options, from the subtle to the spectacular. You know which way I swing. And at $4,660 on a NATO strap, this one saves some cash for accessory straps. I would adjust my selection to Signal Blau and make that my choice, but which watch and why for you?
So I happen to like NOMOS quite a bit. I like their watches. I think they build a phenomenal product, and I think you get a lot of guys that are getting into some fantastic pieces for entry-level prices. However, it's very hard to shake me off of a Seiko, especially a Grand Seiko. So this particular dial is fantastic, and if you haven't seen one in person, I highly advise you guys to go chase one down. It's a dial that has to be witnessed in natural light to get the pure beauty of the dial. Plus, I am a everyday single complication fan, so power reserve to me is a fantastic complication, and for me, the Grand Seiko would win hands down.
Well, that's pretty definitive. That's no hesitation. He went straight for the snowflake. And I have to say, he has an absolute bang-on point with that dial. That exceptional dial cannot be evaluated in a flat photograph. It is a three-dimensional product. It has texture. It has peaks and valleys. It has a unique quality such that no two are exactly the same. So you do need to see it in person. That said, I personally love the warmth that comes with color, and I would probably go with either Atlantic Blau or Signal Blau from the NOMOS. Although Grand Seiko wins my mind, the NOMOS wins my heart, and they appeal just right with that beautiful Berlin sort of modernist Bauhaus statement. They actually say they take pre-Bauhaus inspiration, Deutsche Uhrenwerk, apparently, or Deutsche, I should say, Werkbund. Deutsche Werkbund. Uhrenwerk is the movement in these, but it's a very cool look, and like the Seiko dial, I feel the totality of the NOMOS must be received in person. So for me, Atlantic Blau or Signal Blau, that's the one I choose, with money left over for some straps. Okay, so we have some comments coming from the chat box to the effect that Thumper JDM is all over the snowflake. And I also have a little comment. Bishop, you had me at NOMOS. Ahmad B is saying, hi Jason and Tim. We return your salutations. All right, guys. So I want to move on to an Instagram update. You guys know that I am now doing the Instagram thing. Jason, do you have an Instagram account?
I do. In the process of setting up a professional one, but my private one, I do post watch-related stuff that's coming across my desk on a daily basis. Kind of do my own this or that every once in a while, which my clients like. So that's Edward Victor Oscar X Evo X 4B11. So Edward Victor Oscar Xavier, the number 4, B as in boy 11, and it's a mouthful, but we'll be switching to Mr. Main or something like that.
You everyday carry guys are gonna love him. He's got a Instagram account sharp enough to draw blood because it's loaded with custom knives. My Instagram account, of course, guys, if you want to follow me, features a lot of video because that's kind of my game, and needless to say, watches I love. So follow me on Instagram, Tim_Masso. Again, open up another window, follow me, keep us streaming. that said, let's get to questions. All right. Peter E. asks, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, so I feel wrong about flaunting my wealth in view of my clients. We hear this one a lot, actually. I have sports cars, for example, that I'm not comfortable parking in my spot at my practice. What are my options? Because I want a tourbillon, but what are my options if I want a case-back tourbillon? Okay, Peter, you've come to the right place, because I own the first one in our roster. It's the 2003 Jlc Reverso Platinum No. 2. This was, and in a lot of ways remains, my Grail watch, and it's nice to say you own your Grail. So the Grail in hand, Grand Tie case, platinum, ruthenium-coated white gold dial with hand-painted numerals. All the fun starts when you flip the case, and now you've got a tourbillon caliber made of solid 18-karat white gold. Pick it up for between $45,000 and $65,000, and you will have scored yourself a bargain and a tourbillon you can wear in the most discreet environs. All right, but if you want to be a little bit more flamboyant with colored gold, go with the 1993 Reverso Tourbillon. This was Jlc's first ever tourbillon wristwatch and the first ever tourbillon Reverso. Same size as the Platinum No. 2, albeit this time you have a rose gold caliber in 14 karat. They hadn't quite mastered the softer 18 karat back in '93. Case back power reserve scale, absolutely beautiful. Pick that up between $25,000 and $35,000. Moving on, Laurent Ferrier, a brand I love, Gallet Classic and Gallet Square. In both cases, you want the tourbillon double spiral. We're going to go with the Classic here, 41 millimeters, white gold, beautifully executed with those assegai spear-style hands. You have a 80-hour manual wind caliber 619 with a Besançon chronometer certificate. So it's a Besançon chronometer, old school, certified at the observatory in France. And for about 180,000 Swiss francs, well bought. If you're a specialist and you're fixing up pro ballers, you might have the coin to buy this watch new. But regardless, whether you buy it pre-owned or new, you're getting everything you pay for and then some. This is the best tradition of Geneva finishing, everything but the Poinçon. I will also mention that if you must have Poinçon de Genève or the double interlocking Patek Philippe seal, Patek Philippe will give you a run for your money. With watches like the 5016, we've got some Patek Philippe imagery that we can show up on the screen, with the 5016R being my choice among the 5016s. 36 millimeters, so while it is colored gold, it's also traditionally sized. In your practice, it won't stick its head above the parapet. I would also say you want to consider watches like the 5216 and 5316 that succeeded it if you want a bigger, more robust complication with the same fundamental functions, and the exceptionally discreet 5539 minute repeater tourbillon, now with a blue enamel dial. 37 millimeters, again, this is beautifully discreet, traditionally sized, and so exquisite. It'll only draw compliments from the man on the street and adoration from the true watch nerd. The conversations this one starts are worth your while. And then finally, 5002, 6002. If you can blow some money on a Sky Moon tourbillon, you don't need my guidance. You already know you want it and that you can afford it. But you will not see the tourbillon. It will not offend you. Nor will the Grandmaster Chime 6300. So if you go all in with the Caliber 300 and a 47mm Patek Philippe Grand Complication, you'll see everything but the tourbillon, doctor. And finally, the best buy on the list, and this is even considering the JLCs, the Iwc Davinci 3752. This is a watch made in 200 pieces in yellow gold, 50 pieces in an epic platinum version with a blue dial, blue lacquer dial. You're getting a moon phase, perpetual calendar, case-back flying tourbillon, and chronograph in the classic hinge lug Da Vinci case, and you're going to be buying this for between $30,000 and $35,000 pre-owned for the gold variant, about $45,000 to $50,000 in platinum. I can't think of a better way to spend money on a compound complication. You will never get more for your money at any price. This is as good as it gets, provided you can live with the polarizing styling of this generation of Da Vinci. And finally, consider Lange and its 100-piece datograph perpetual calendar tourbillon chronograph. It's a mouthful, it's a wristful, but it takes up the same amount of wrist real estate as the standard datograph up-down and features the exquisite caliber 952.2. You won't see any of it from the front, but boy, what an eyeful on the case back side. Jason, have you ever had someone say to you, I love wearing luxury watches and spending my money on good stuff, but I have to be discreet? How do you advise them? It doesn't have to be a tourbillon, but how do you advise them when they want to buy luxury but they want to keep it low profile?
Yeah, it happens all the time. So I guess it comes down to how discreet you want to be. So some guys, for most guys, it becomes white gold versus yellow gold. Seems to be what we get a lot of. Guys, you know, they like the white gold because it feels luxurious and it's heavy on the wrist and it has the same presence, but most people are going to think it's stainless steel. I think for this specific question with the tourbillon, it's a good question. The number 2 hits very close to home for you. I think the number 2 provides this specific guy a really cool kind of hidden trapdoor, you know, with the Reverso, so he can also enjoy it throughout the day without having to take the watch off. Which, you know, for me, the Ferrier is probably what my favorite piece on that list, which was, you know, very well done by you. But the number 2, I think, is something that he would enjoy, being able to flip back and forth and kind of keep the secret from his clientele while still being able to enjoy the piece. But
I would say that the number 2 probably offers the most discretion and enjoyment for your dollar, whereas I would say that if you're wearing the Davinci, as cool as it is, and I can't imagine getting more complication for your dollar, wearing such a Baroque style on your wrist in colored gold kind of loses whatever discretion you gain by flipping the tourbillon to the reverse side.
Sure.
So I think on the Laurent Ferrier account, you have found the most discreet watch amongst those.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it's good that you mention discretion being white gold or platinum in some cases. Talk a little bit about the sub Smurf versus, say, the yellow gold sub C.
Yeah, so one of the coolest things with the Smurf is that you do get that underlined luxury tone, and it is a piece that's exclusive to the white gold. So you don't have to worry about, or you're not going to see someone wearing the stainless steel version and getting the same kind of acclaim that that you might or may not be looking for if you're looking for white gold. But that is a watch that has a tremendous amount of heft on the wrist. It sells very well. People love the piece. It's definitely an eye catcher. And the white gold on that piece, well, you know Rolex is white gold. I'm sure all of our viewers know Rolex is white gold. It is a sight to be seen. I mean, it's a great piece.
I'll say this: we've done the I-95 run, moving from Miami to Philadelphia. So I would say up north, where it's cold, and you know you're on the old cobbled streets, old money, discretion is advised. You know, that's where you want to have white gold. You go down to Miami, now you wear yellow gold, you wear rose gold, bigger watches, you see more Hublot. Up here you see more Patek Philippe, you see more Audemars Piguet, you see more Jaeger-LeCoultre, and you see more white gold. And I think that's kind of the philosophy. You want to be Philly and New York, you're white gold. You want to be Miami, LA Sunset Strip, you're all about the colored gold. Okay, so a question coming through from Andrew. This is Andrew ST12. Tim, how would you compare Patek Philippe's Gyromax, this is a free-sprung balance architecture, with Rolex's Microstella free-sprung architecture? So the point of a free-sprung architecture in the balance is to better withstand shocks and concussions on the wrist without permanently changing the timing of the watch as a mobile index can, and also because it allows you to very precisely tune a watch, more so than inching a mobile index or pinching regulating pins or even turning a Edelchron key. So I would say the main difference between the Patek system and the Rolex system is that these days almost all of the Patek Gyromax balances are on some sort of a single-sided balance cock that has less bracing than the full dual-anchored balance bridge that Rolex uses. And for me, that's the real difference. The Rolex, like an Audemars Piguet 3120, like a Jaeger-LeCoultre, you know, caliber 770 or 975, bracing the balance on both sides gives it more support. You can have a free-sprung architecture, but you've only gone halfway to your ultimate goal of stability if it's cantilevered out like a balance cock. And I think that's the real difference between the Rolex balance and the Patek. It's not the free-sprung system that's used, it's the structure that holds the free-sprung architecture. All right. So we have an interesting question. Let me ask you this. Ibrahim E asks, what are my options if I want to comply with Islamic law while wearing luxury watches? Have you ever been asked this question, Jason? 'Cause I get it a couple of times a year.
Yeah, really? I would say it's the first time I've ever heard it. And I've been doing this a while. Yeah.
I know
it's interesting.
One time Peter Bell came to us and he asked me, because he had someone asking about this, he needs a completely gold-free watch, internally and externally. And I had to rack my mind a little bit, so I've gone through this routine once, and here's the basic idea. I am not an authority in Islamic law, but I do understand that it is essentially haram or forbidden to openly wear gold by most Islamic sect conventions. So I have come up with common hazards to avoid. Focus on watches that have golden winding masses. This is often where the gold is on a watch. Focus on any watch with a sigma dial. These would have been made typically between 1970 and about 2000. I think Patek Philippe towards the end of the 90s was the last to phase this out, but a sigma dial means minimally golden indices and hands. You might see sigma M, which means or massif. Now you have a solid gold dial, so be cognizant of that. Also, remember that there will be watches with golden drivetrains. Like if you look at the current Vacheron Constantin Quittelille, you have a tungsten winding mass, and I believe you have rhodium-plated hands on the dial and indices. But you also have train wheels that I cannot tell you 100% are not gold-plated. That said, here's what I know for a fact is going to be free of gold. First, a Breitling Aerospace. Obviously not the two-tones, but if you get yourself a Breitling Aerospace, say in titanium, or an Aerospace Evo like you see there, you have numerals and hands that are rhodium plated. You have a watch that is powered by a super quartz movement, very versatile, many functions from minute repeaters to backlights, and you will be free of gold, and you will still get the luxury watch experience. Hublot and the Hublot Big Bang Unico family. As long as Hublot isn't explicitly saying that there is gold in the case and it doesn't have a two-tone dial, Hublot is famous for using tungsten winding masses and rhodium-plated steel dial components. So unless it looks like gold or they're telling you it's white gold, you can almost be sure in all cases with the Hublot Unicos, the Big Bang Unicos, you're wearing a watch that is gold-free. The Zenith Academy Georges Favre-Jacot. This is a watch that initially, we can't quite see the watch, so I'm just going to go straight to the epic fusee that defines the watch. There we go, full screen. Like I said, watch box, everything is new. So now we have a full screen. This is a watch that came out in 2016, and it was a successor to a watch that was mostly gold, the 150th anniversary piece. This one features titanium as well as ruthenium and rhodium plating on almost everything. So you're free of gold, and yet you're getting traditional high horology. Skipping the winding mass is always going to buy you a margin of safety, because that's generally where you find the gold, from 18 karat to 22. Here, it's all gray metals and brass under the bridge coatings. You're good to go here, and you get a very interesting complication with the epic fusee that defines the Georges Favre-Jacot models. And I must say, the fusee by itself is worth the price of admission. Okay, and there it is, like an oversized bicycle gear, complete with chain. This is why that movement has over 600 parts. Now, I will finally say that you have another option from Zenith that is not yet, I don't believe they're taking delivery of the El Primero 21 yet, but the Zenith Dayfi El Primero 21, I believe it is entirely gold-free with titanium, DLC, rhodium plate, and as far as I can tell, no gold. So this is one that you can wear in good conscience, whether you choose a solid dial or an open, whether you choose DLC or raw tie. And finally, Jason, this is one we'll come back to, the Devon Tread, because it's just completely different than any conventional watch. There's no winding system, there are no gold wheels, there are no hands or indices. So once again, a luxury product and a luxury experience free of gold. Okay, can you think of any that just are completely without gold?
Yeah, on the spot. I mean, that's a tough one. I'm sure we only hit the tip of the iceberg. I would say off that list though, that Type 21, the new El Primero, is. Yeah. I love that piece. That's gorgeous.
That's a special
case architecture on that piece. I can't wait to see one in person.
I would also say, with a price between $10,000 and $11,600, it's a pretty good buy for what you're getting.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question from Rod Moxley for you, Jason. Is lower mid-tier Ball Watch Co. going completely direct to customer online and abandoning authorized dealers? That's an interesting question, because I want to say at Govberg we carry Ball.
Yes.
And I can't imagine that we wouldn't be allowed to order any item from the catalog.
I don't think as a smaller independent brand, you can afford the luxury of foregoing the retailer.
Yeah.
for that to happen, you just have to have enough secondary market demand. You have to have a loyal customer base, which Ball does have a following, but you have to be, I would say, 2 to 5 times bigger of a company. I could see them in the future going to like some limited edition direct order pieces, which they do some of that now. But to take the whole line out of retailers, I think would really hurt the brand. I feel like Ball is a watch that you have to experience and put on your wrist to see the value proposition, and to try and sell all of them online, I think would hurt sales in the long run.
So let me ask you a question then. Who is the Ball customer? Because it's a brand that's kind of hard to place.
Yeah, I think the Ball customer is a guy who is on his 3rd watch, maybe, let's say. He's trying to figure out how his collection is going to move forward, wants something that's sportier. I think it's the same guy who's researching a lot of Oris. He's probably coming off looking at some $2,000 watches and starting to look at some $3,500, $4,000 watches. Not quite ready to jump into like a sub or something in the $6,000 range, but you know, looking at maybe some Longines, some vintage Longines stuff, maybe escalated from Hamilton. He's coming up, he's already got the automatic movements, and he's looking for something that's the next step. So I would say the closest probably competitor to Ball would be Oris, in my opinion, as far as if you're looking at a Ball, you should also be looking at Oris.
I think that's a good way to put it. Definitely an interesting brand. I want to say that today the Ball customer is kind of the guy who back in the late 90s would have been interested in Panerai back when their watches were $2,500 to $3,500. The guy who wants the no-nonsense tool watch.
Right.
All right. So a lot of questions coming through. Oh boy. So we've got a question about the value of platinum and gold. I want to say right now that gold is actually worth more than platinum. Jason, I think, is that where we are right now?
Yeah, it's pretty much what trend that we're seeing.
Okay, so now here's a question. This is from Tom P. And Tom P is asking, what are reasonable alternatives to waiting a year for a Rolex Daytona steel ceramic? You've got $12,400 to spend. You don't have to spend it all. You can spend a little more if you want, pay for immediacy. But Jason, what do you sub for the Cosmograph?
That's a tough piece. I actually, if it were me, and I might get a little slack for this, but I actually like pre-gen Daytonas better than a ceramic piece.
Okay.
And that's just me. So I would spend the money on a full stainless steel black dial pre-ceramic gen Daytona, bank the rest, and wait for my next watch. Not that I don't, listen, every generation of any Rolex watch is going to be better than the one previous, right? That's what Rolex does. Rolex is continuously tweaking and patenting and making things better. But that ceramic bezel in a non-insert, just it, to my eye, just feels a little... It's a little cold. It's a little sterile. Okay. And I happen to like the way the older Daytonas wear, in my opinion.
And those are a great buy right now. With everyone scrambling for the ceramic bezel, nothing changed inside the watch. If you want to go back and go full steel, you know, look into the different dial variants available. Maybe find something that speaks to you more than the 2 box stock options you've got from the Cosmograph. Because that's the thing. If you go with a steel ceramic Daytona, you don't have many choices.
Yeah, I mean, you have white or black, and we all know the white's doing better than the black. Apparently, less of them shipped. They're harder to get. Secondary market's easily $1,000 to $2,000 higher on a white dial than a black dial. Personally, between the two, I feel like the black dial is the prettier watch, even though I understand, you know, the black subdials on the white dial give it that Paul Newman look, which, you know, everybody's chasing. But the black dial, for me, with the bezel, just seems like a more complete look. But yeah, 100% I would spend the money on a full stainless steel Daytona, bankroll the rest. I mean, listen, you could go buy a second watch for the difference. Some guys we're seeing the white Daytonas sell for, you know, 19, 20 now. It's crazy.
And I think it's worth mentioning that in terms of that price range, $12,400, you go out and get yourself an Omega Gray Side of the Moon. Go buy it pre-owned, you'll get it for under 10, and you'll save a couple of $1,000s for accessory straps, whatever you want, services for your other watches. You have a lot of options once you're over $12,000, and if you add pre-owned to your pool, you could shop on Chrono all night long. You would run, your cup runneth over. But I will say, I have some selections that I would recommend for Tom, who is apparently flush with funds but short of time. If you don't want to wait for a Cosmograph, consider first a watch that's comparable in size and cost. So we're going to go with a watch around 40 millimeters. Consider the Jlc Master Chronograph, now on a bracelet. This is a watch for $10,800. It's not as water resistant as the Daytona, but it does give you the convenience of a date. It also gives you the same kind of refinement you expect with the Daytona, with twin mainspring valves, long power reserve at 65 hours here, 70 for the Daytona. You've got the vertical clutch. You've got the column wheel. You've got an in-house caliber. You have a very handsome watch, and that style is going to last. I know, Jason, you've talked a lot about watches that'll last, watches that'll grow old, and I think your message has always been novelties ultimately wane in interest. But the enduring watch, the instant classic, is the watch you can wear again and again and never tire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also goes to your point. I hear you say many times too, is if you're doing the research and you buy the piece that you have spent some time falling in love with the story and the tradition of the watch, and you actually you know, attach yourself to the history of the watch, when you put that on your wrist, every time you put it on your wrist, you're going to remember the hunt. You're going to remember doing the research and loving the watch, and that makes it a watch that will always stay in your collection. Every time you put it on, it doesn't matter if it's beat up a little bit or scratched a little bit, every ding has a story, and it's your watch and it stays with you.
Okay, I got a little note from JBO. Tim needs to stop mentioning JLC. Well, it's okay, because I've got an alternative. I'm not done. Bulgari Octo Chronograph. Here's another choice. This one's 41 millimeters. We're still in that Daytona size zone, but with a completely different aesthetic. A fusion of Bulgari and Gerald Genta. This look will stand the test of time because some version of this case has already been around for decades, so we know it holds up. What you're also getting is El Primero power. Being part of the LVMH monolith has its advantages, and within the board cube, you can have a Bulgari watch with a Zenith El Primero caliber. The best of both worlds. Zenith has never been too strong in style, but rock solid in engineering and watchmaking. Bulgari, they're a surprising manufacturer today, but they're mostly still known for style. Get the best of both worlds, still 100 meters water resistant, and like the JLC, this gives you the date that you don't get in the Daytona. Now, moving on, I could say that if you want to go to a completely different country and spend a little bit more money, we go from Italian-inspired to German through and through with the Glashutte Original, or Glashutte Original, 70s chronograph Panorama Datum. Now, this is a watch that retails for between $14,900 if you buy it on the rubber strap and $16,400, but there is a pre-owned opportunity to buy where you can get it for less, and there is no wait list for this watch, so if you negotiate with your dealer, chances are you'll get a very good value proposition. 70-hour power reserve, flyback chronograph, power reserve on the dial. You've got a double-digit date. You've got a beautiful movement executed entirely in-house, and again, you can see the movement here. You can't on the Daytona. You've got 100 meters water resistant. This might be the most feature-packed watch of the lot. Have you seen this one, Jason?
I have seen that in person. It's pretty. Personally, I like the Octo previous watch a little bit better, but the Glashutte is a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah, gorgeous too. Here's a style, 41 millimeters. It's a nice wearable size. It's actually like 40 and a half by my calipers, but this is a watch you could wear anywhere on the full bracelet. This is a watch that easily takes the place of the Daytona. It's the conversation piece. It's the watch nerd watch, and yet because it's got that quirky 70s aesthetic to it, it's also a watch that's going to be a conversation starter with people who are not into watches. It has a transcendent appeal, a style that almost everyone thinks is cool and watch guys think is just out of this world. So finally, I'm going to give a shout out to two August brands. One is the natural competitor to Rolex, and that's Omega, the Omega Speedmaster 57 coaxial chronograph. I know we've got a picture of it, guys. There it is. You get the option of titanium here, and I think that's the way to go to really set it apart. Retail of $9,000. Jason, this is a 41.5 millimeter watch, 100 meters water resistant, in-house 9300 caliber. What do you think of this watch relative to the Daytona?
I mean, the 57 is probably my favorite Speedmaster in existence. Titanium blue dial. It's a fantastic piece, great size, automatic chronograph, that movement, the 93, great watch. It's just handsome. There's a lot of contrast to the dial. There's something to be said for that piece on the wrist. My only criticism of that piece on 57 is the bezel is quite thin.
Yes.
So if it's not a piece that I would actively go beat on.
Sure.
I can see that. Yeah, number one complaint for some guys is that the bezel gets dinged up a little bit. But you know, the watch is made to last hundreds and hundreds of years, so parts are available and replaceable. I'd say wear the watch and enjoy it.
Yeah, the bezel's a service item. If you got it, you can refinish it. Worst comes to worst, boom, pop another one on there. That's the nice thing about Omega. It's going to be around forever, and so are the parts. And finally, a company we don't speak of nearly often enough, but Girard-Perregaux, the Stradale Competizione. This is a great line that came out about 2 years ago. It includes a 3300 base caliber that's in-house Girard-Perregaux. It's a little bit bigger than these others, 42 millimeters, and it wears it, but absolutely gorgeous, classic sporting chronograph dial. You've got that tritone black, white with red shocks. Real manufacturer pedigree. This is high horology, but $10,100 on the bracelet. I think as long as you don't have to go in the water here, because 30 ATM, this is a high and dry sports watch, but this gives you a little bit of panache and that low volume, I would say, watch nerd appeal. Have you seen these, Jason? Have we had a few of these in?
Yeah, I have seen one. I put it on my wrist. It does wear pretty well. I would say, though, on the wrist, for what it is, I think it's a little expensive.
Okay.
So I would certainly hold off and get one pre-owned if it's a piece that you definitely want to have. I don't know if I'd shell out the money for new.
I think that's a fair assessment. Girard-Perregaux traditionally is not going to hold its value like a Rolex. It's not going to hold its value like a Patek. But watch guys will swear by it. We love the company. We love what they do. And I think they make a very honest product. And this is a great alternative that you will be able to buy today. So consider the Competizione Stradale. All right. So Jason, we have some interesting questions floating through here. And all sorts of questions about this or that. What would you buy? Let me see, guys. We have a, okay, here's an opinion from Cameron. He's saying that a Super Ocean Heritage from Breitling with ceramic bezel, a new Tudor movement, a 72-hour power reserve would be his choice for an all-around sports watch. The Super Ocean Heritage 2, what do you think of this new watch, new for this year?
Yeah, actually, I was visiting a friend who works for a retailer, and they sell the watch new on Saturday, and I put it on my wrist for the first time. I got to say I was a little underwhelmed.
Okay.
You know, not to poke holes in his choice, but you know, for a piece that large, the ceramic bezel to me feels like it's going to be the first piece to go. I like the concept idea of it. I just think the execution was lacking a little bit, in my opinion.
Okay, and that's honest, and you know, I appreciate that. I think the Super Ocean Heritage Gen 1 going back to 2007, that's a great pool to be able to draw from, and the value is outstanding. Huge selection, great pre-owned options.
I have a Super Ocean Steelfish, 44 millimeter case, nothing crazy, great dive watch. I've had it for going on 15 years. I serviced it once. Fantastic watch. I've beat that watch to death, and it still looks good. And I think you can go get some of these, you know, older Breitlings and actually pay a lot less money for them and wear them the way they're really supposed to be abused, and not feel too guilty.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. The Super Ocean Heritage is a no-nonsense throwback watch. Get it at the right price, wear it absolutely all the time. ETA movements in there, you will not break them. And if you do, parts, easy to get. All right, so we have an interesting question coming from Roberto V, who's taken us back into the world of wheels and watches and the intersection of the two. All right, Roberto, observing the obvious and setting us off on a new course, he says there must be a million watch and car co-brandings. Jason, you just came back from a Lamborghini event with Roger Dubuis.
I did. It was fantastic, and we'll talk about that sometime.
Do you think
it was amazing.
Do you think it's a natural match, the two companies?
100%. It feels like it's one of those things. It's like, why did this not happen sooner? When you really think about it, I mean, from the evolution of what they're doing with movements and material science, I talk a lot about material science all the time. It just feels 100% like a match, and I felt the same way when they did Pirelli, and even more so now with the Lamborghini.
Yeah, I would say honestly, the Lamborghini Blancpain thing never felt right. So I think, yeah,
they were so weird. I didn't care for it even back then. Before.
And the L Evolution line didn't fit with Blancpain. But here's the thing: if Lamborghini's gonna link up with a watch company, it's going to be one of two. It's going to be Richard Mille, or it's going to be the modern Roger Dubuis. And I think they chose right. So Roberto asks, what watch would be a match for Tesla? I haven't thought about that. Okay, and he mentions it's one of the few automakers that doesn't appear to have ever linked up with a watch brand, past or present. Well, let me just opine that these are good times for techies. Just the other day, they announced that Aibo the robot dog, a favorite of mine from my college years, is back. The only robot dog we could have, I mean, honestly, if you're in a frat or a dorm room, you're going to have some sort of artificially intelligent pet. If only I could have afforded it back in the day, it would have been perfect. But these days, you can enjoy Aibo the robot dog while you join the 500,000 of your closest friends waiting with bated breath for delivery of the Tesla Model 3. I have no idea how long that will take, but while you wait, why not pick up a watch that's going to suit your new ride when it arrives? Jason, what would you say is a natural match for Tesla?
So you and I were talking about this before the show, and I think the Resonance Type 3 would have to be my pick, only because I could picture getting in a Tesla, taking the watch off my wrist and putting it on the dash. It's so futuristic. It's completely outside the lines of what a watch display is supposed to be, which I think the Tesla does with the automotive industry. And I feel that that's a natural match. And I know you had a couple other options that were.
I do have a couple. I have to explain first, though, guys, why the Apple Watch is not a match for Tesla. And here it goes. I see we already had some suggestions. The watch hipster in our chat box said, it's got to be the Apple Watch for Tesla. It does, and then we had a question from Shannon, does it have to be quartz? Here's why the Apple Watch isn't a match for Tesla. Because a Tesla, and this is probably a first in the electric car segment, but a Tesla is a charismatic product. It's a charismatic product and an emotional purchase. It's the electric car you buy for the first time ever because you want to, because it's stirring, it's fast, it's dynamically exciting. It even looks good, and they've hired a proper designer to style these cars. An Apple Watch is not an emotional purchase. It's not a luxury product. It doesn't stir the soul, even though it may accord with the intellect. And that's why the Apple Watch is not a match for Tesla, because this is a throwaway utilitarian article. It's going to get you your steps. It's going to time your sleep. It's going to show you who sent you a message. It's going to play your music. And when the battery dies in 18 months, you're going to get another one. So I see the Tesla more in tune with the kind of cars car guys like, and therefore it's got to be more in touch with the kind of watches that watch guys also like. So here's what I think. Oddly, Elon Musk has his less discussed company, SpaceX, the payloader that sends things into orbit. SpaceX already has a signature watch. How weird is that? So they had the 2012 SpaceX Carrera 1887 from Tag Heuer. 2012 pieces. So that company is ahead of the game. Let's help Tesla to catch up. What does Elon think? He's not going to be any help to us. So we're going to have to go straight to my opinion, which is that Devon, another California company like Tesla with roots in the auto segment, and there it is, the Devon GTX, the car he tried to build before he couldn't and decided to do watches. So Devon launched the Devon Tread in 2010 as a family of electromechanical watches. The Devon Tread, very controversial, like Tesla, bringing electronics into a luxury realm where they hadn't existed or hadn't had a purchase before. All of a sudden, the electronic watch, like the electronic car, becomes an emotional luxury purchase. Controversial, no doubt, but also successful, largely because it's done with such sincerity and high standards. Like Tesla, Devon has created a disruptive competitor in a segment traditionally dominated by Europeans, and they've done it building electric products out of California. And ultimately, I would say the staying power for both Tesla and Devon is yet to be determined. I will say this, though. Tesla could learn a lesson from Devon in terms of delivering products on time, servicing them quickly, and delivering first-rate customer service. You call Devon, you get a person. Try that with Rolex. I'm just saying. If you want to deal with Rolex, you deal with us, the dealer. If you want to deal with Devon, you can deal with us, the dealer, or you can call them, and a friendly guy will call you back if he misses you. He'll answer your phone. He'll tell you his first name. He'll give you his text number. It's a special experience. Tesla, go to town, do some homework, study up. And I will propose, and Jason, maybe you'll agree with me on this, Grand Seiko as another logical partner for a Tesla link-up, because there's so much Japanese connection to Tesla. Toyota was an early and enthusiastic investor, and Tesla actually worked extensively with Toyota on some of its California compliance cars, like the electric RAV4. And it's also important to note that Panasonic, the Japanese battery supplier, is the major battery partner of Tesla. They're actually involved in the Tesla Gigafactory. I believe they're a 50-50 investor in this.
Right.
So without Panasonic and Japan, there is no Tesla. So there's also a similar openness to alternative tech and willingness to offend traditionalists. Does that fit, Grand Seiko? I don't know how you feel about the Devon thing, but...
I think the Devon thing translates pretty well. It's mechanically refined, it is different and interesting, and you have to plug it in. So it kind of fits the whole recharge option as well. Grand Seiko, I feel like, kind of the outlier there. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily see most people getting out of a Tesla wearing Grand Seiko, but I could certainly see someone wearing a tread get out of a Tesla.
Now here's the thing, though. I can see a guy wearing a spring drive getting out of a Tesla. Yeah. If you're going with a quartz hybrid watch.
I am a car guy, so I personally, they're cool. Would I buy one? Probably not. Definitely not. But
okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough. So here's a question from the field. Joshua Polanski mentioning that Tesla would be an oyster quartz. That was a product way ahead of its time. I like the way you're thinking, Joshua. All right, Longa. What car is a Longa? That's from our field.
That's Bentley. That's a Bentley to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a Bentley or a Phantom.
You're engineering a Breitling divorce.
All right, so we'll go Phantom. But okay. I definitely feel like that's the guy that gets out of the car when the driver opens the back door.
I would say Longa maybe would be something like a Maybach. Like if you look at the new Maybach trim level on the S-Class or the new Maybach convertible, I feel that Uber level of bespoke experience and attention to detail, not Mercedes-Benz, Maybach, that would be Longa. And not the old Maybach 57 and 62. Those things were nouveau riche taxis. I'm talking about the reborn Maybach. The way they've integrated it into the S-Class line, I really like that. And I think you could plausibly say that's Longa. There's a warmth and an old school sensibility about it. All right, so there's a comment from the watch hipster. Building a car is not just about tech, it's the romance and the tactile feeling you get, and Tesla is simply numb. That's true. I will say the feeling I get when I drive a Tesla is a little bit Audi. In the Audis, you always feel like you're driving a very powerful front-wheel drive car with the engine out over the front and the steering is numb. I do get that in the Tesla. I will say dynamically, though, although the Tesla is numb, it's probably a little sharper.
They're fantastically fast.
Yeah.
The electric propulsion, it's like a roller coaster. Problem is, once you get to the top speed, you're kind of bored.
It's true. It's a straight line machine. Dynamically, I don't think Audis or Teslas are going to get you there, although a Gen 2 Tesla Roadster and an R8 V10, now we're talking fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to remind you guys to check out my other channel, Watch You Want Watch Reviews, where you can see my 5 to 7 minute quick hits. Watch You Want Watch Reviews is now Watchbox Watch Reviews. And while you're at it on Watchbox Watch Reviews, remember to check out our new website, thewatchbox.com, and follow me, Tim_Masso, on Instagram. Jason, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Always good to be on.
Great stuff, guys. You know where to reach him, you know where to reach me. I'm Tim, he's Jason, this is the Watchbox, and thanks for logging on.